What is up, guys? This is PVM Vertigo and welcome back to Kerbal Colonization. Now today, I said I was going to be redesigning the Explorer 3 and upgrading Explorer 4 and, adding aerobraking capabilities and stuff to it, but no. We are actually going to be doing something different because I decided we need a little bit of science. So what we're going to be doing is something I've only done once before in another time, or in another save. We're going to be capturing an asteroid. It's a Class B size asteroid, so it's not really the biggest, but we do have quite the rocket that's going to get there. So yeah, I'm not actually going to speed this up because I feel like to get a scale of what exactly I was doing, I shouldn't speed up because I actually haven't launched at this trajectory. Right here, instead of going right in the beginning, we're actually going north a little bit and kind of to the west. We're going to be going northwest because the inclination of the asteroid is different than zero inclination, which is what we're usually launching to. Equatorial inclination, should I say. And if you remember in the map earlier, basically it's coming in from the bottom of Kerbin. It's going to be flying up at almost a 90-degree angle. I'd say around 70-degree angle, maybe 65. I can't remember the exact number, but yeah, it looks like that. And we are still going to the right because obviously when you launch, you're moving around with Kerbin because Kerbin's spinning, and when you go straight up, you're still going to the right just because of the fact that you still have that Kerbin spin velocity. So we really have to gun it straight to the left. So I'm trying to, figure out where I'm going here. I'm trying to move it around a little bit. I'm starting to figure it out. And eventually we end up going on the right path. We're already up to 66,000 meters and we're starting to really turn over to a flat burn. You're looking at the descending node and we're actually getting pretty close to zero. And not zero as in relative to Kerbin's equator, but relative to the asteroid. We want a descending node of 0 or NaN or NaN. That's the goal. So we're getting pretty close to actually matching its orbit. You can see there, kind of see the arc that we're trying to put together. And eventually this will lead to an easy path straight to the asteroid that we need to intercept. So you may be asking, what are the perks of actually grabbing an asteroid and bringing it into Kerbin's orbit? Well, number one, it's pretty freaking cool. I mean, you get to have an asteroid, not really man-made, not even man, Kerbal captured object. You get to have that in your skies. That's pretty cool. And number one, it comes with science. Number two, it comes with science. I'm not sure how much science it actually has, and I'm not sure if it's really an efficient way to get science. But it's going to have that on the side. And then number three, I may actually use this as like a fuel depot or something because I heard that you can mine it and stuff, and it'd be nice to use that for fuel. Or in some sort of space station arrangement. I could have it attached to my space station. That'd be cool also. Might be able to use it for attack life support. I'm not sure about that, but there's uses for this thing. And so yeah, capturing an asteroid is entertaining for a multitude of reasons, but I still think that just the fact that it's pretty freaking cool is probably the number one reason why I'm going to capture it. Let's see how this goes. So right here I'm doing a correction burn. I'm happening to adjust my inclination. And I do have a maneuver node there. Adjusting inclinations, sometimes you don't want to use the maneuver node. I just happen to use it. Ditching my first stage, or that's really my second stage. My first stage consisted of the 3 rocket cores. I suppose that is technically my second stage. And then I move on to my orbital stage. And my goal is obviously to get to 0 inclination in comparison to the asteroid, which we have not named yet. We'll see what it'll be when we get there. And we're just gonna outstretch our apoapsis until it sort of scathes the orbit of the asteroid. Try doing it minimalistic as possible. The easiest way is to stretch it straight outwards, and then you can spare a little bit of delta V. It's always nice. So yeah. So we commence the burn, and I'm starting to feel like this is more of just a glorified orbital rendezvous. It's basically docking with another spacecraft, except this one, there's no margin for error. You can only go around a certain number of times and dock with it before it goes flying out of the Kerbin system. So that makes it a little bit more challenging. One of the main reasons that capturing asteroids is a little bit difficult for people is just because of the fact that it only has one pass. It's not a continuous orbit. So reaching it can be problematic. And the easiest way is to just, set up a regular intercept where your orbit crosses over the other orbit, just like I have here. And you click on the maneuver node here, and then you just kind of, time it out. Find a place where the time is going to be right to actually give yourself more lead or more time around the orbit until it actually reaches where you want to go. So the end product should look something like this. I mean, our separation is pretty near, our maneuver node's all set, and we don't actually have to be that close to it, because it just has to be within a few 100 kilometers, maybe even, not really 1,000 kilometers, maybe 1,000 kilometers, that you might have that much leeway, but I'd say probably just maybe 10 kilometers away would be good. Keep it within that range. 12 kilometers is probably okay, maybe even 20. But the main thing you have to do is to actually overburn there because I was busy paying attention to radiators. Yeah. I was stressed out that all these solar panels might create waste heat because we do have that managed. I actually put radiators on this thing because for some reason my interstellar missions have been ending in lots of waste heat, so I just put some radiators on there. No big deal. I was just kind of not paying attention. But also, this thing accelerates pretty fast. I mean, it has to push the mass of a gigantic, not really gigantic, but at least an asteroid that's bigger than the entire spaceship in terms of mass. And that's why it has such a high thrust to weight ratio. But yeah, we finished the burn, and we're coming in at a really eccentric, eccentric angled path back towards the intercept. I decide that this is a pretty good intercept right here, and we're trying to actually get ourselves in a better position on the next pass, or when we pass it up. We're trying to actually give ourselves some orbit continuity here. We're trying to make the orbit basically the same as the other object that we're going to be grabbing. And we're trying to get our relative speeds as close as possible, because once you reach a 0 relative speed, you can just kind of burn straight towards the object and you'll reach it. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Okay, so the estimates were wrong. The asteroid kind of flung past us. I'm not sure if that's what was. Maybe my intercept was a little bit messed up. But by the time I got here, the asteroid was already on the other side. But that's okay. Usually asteroid encounters will be perfect here, and the reason I got this error just makes it all the better for me to actually be able to rendezvous with it. Now you see, I'm cutting the orbit a little bit to the inside, and that means I travel faster than the asteroid. It means I can come up next to it. I'm just going to kind of give a rough evaluation of where the intercept is. Just kind of when we're parked side by side, kind of like, just coming up next to it, flying by it. And then we go into target mode. You can see there on the nav ball it says target mode, and then I'm going to cancel out my target velocity. And hopefully we'll be able to actually just burn straight towards it. This will be the easiest way to actually grab the asteroid. So I actually packed some nice things on this thing. You see that I have a lot of solar panels. I kind of went OCD on things I needed. I thought I'd be out there floating for years on end, and I also packed life support. It's only been a few days. I might not have even needed life support to be on here. I could have just packed it all in the fuel and Delta V. This thing is also packed with radiators, which I also didn't need. And it's packed with lights. Those are just cool for, spotting out where the asteroid is. And then I also packed Kerbal attachment system strut pylon thingies. We'll see what those do on the asteroid. I'm trying to see if I can attach them to the asteroid and then maybe make it a little bit more stable, but I'm not sure if that actually works. Alright, so here we are. Target is coming up close to 0 meters per second, as close as possible, as close as we're trying to get to. And then we have to burn straight towards there, and if we burn straight towards it, we should be able to get an intercept of some sort. That's a lot closer, and then we'll, cancel target velocity, and then we'll just burn straight towards it, and we'll do that again and again until we actually reach it. This is the basics of docking, but since there's no docking port, you can just kind of burn straight towards the target and just kind of run into it with this claw. So this makes it a whole lot easier to actually rendezvous. So you can see, because of the 0 target velocity, what we just burn straight towards it, and all that does is it just drags our orbit across, and we actually are able to, you know, rendezvous with it easier. So we're gonna rendezvous with it basically at this point here. We're getting real close here. I'm zooming in, added accuracy, and things are starting to happen. Starting to come in close, very close, a little bit too close for comfort. We're within 12 kilometers or so. So we're gonna just cancel our velocity and start our secondary burn. Our second burn in ordinance of getting to the actual asteroid. So yeah, I should start burning because I don't want to go too far away from it. Canceling out all our velocity. Oh, I barely made it over, but that's okay. But you kind of have to cancel it out as much as possible. So, I mean, you really should. And I turned myself the complete wrong way because I am not aware of which way my spacecraft is pointing, apparently. And we're pointing at the camera instead of at where we're supposed to be pointing. That little yellow diamond is actually where the asteroid is. It just outlines it because I can't actually see the asteroid because it's so small from over here. I haven't actually had a cut in over 2.5 minutes just because it's been so interesting at this point. It's pretty nice. This is all post-recorded, by the way. I already know what happened, but I'm just trying to give you a sense of what I'm doing. So here we are burning straight towards the object at a few meters per second. And I'm trying to get ourselves aligned with retrograde, just so that when we fly past it, we're able to quickly slow down. There we go. And now we're going to time warp. See how close we can get. And I go to the map, and then suddenly, oh my gosh, we're right near it. Slow down, slow down, slow down. We're way too close to the asteroid. You can see the asteroid glinting in the sunlight now. Asteroid with a bunch of numbers after it. Alright, so I do have the claw out. The claw is primed, and we are ready to grab this asteroid. Alright, so we're coming in with a nice smooth approach. Not really nice and... oh, it is nice and smooth. And we're going in for the top portion. I'm just going to try to grab it. We're coming a little bit too fast. Is it too fast? Of course not. Look at that. Beauty shot for the thumbnail if we need it. Look at that. And we're going to stop there. And yeah, we are clawed to this thing. So we take Bob Kerbin out for a nice little spacewalk, and he makes sure to look inside his inventory here. What we have inside our inventory are structural pylons. And I do not know how to use the structural pylons, and we're going to figure it out. Okay, so I'm just left clicking on it right now. I don't know how to actually use it because I haven't looked it up. I haven't looked up how to do any of the mods. I'm just figuring them out as I go. I still don't know how we're going to colonize all the planets and recycle all the life support and stuff, but I'm sure the things that actually do that will reveal themselves in the tech tree, and it should be fine. Took a surface sample. It's only 54 science. That's kind of painfully low, but it's going to have to do. I mean, we are getting an asteroid in all of this. I mean, that's an accomplishment in itself. But 54 science is nothing to be too ashamed about. I just wish it was a little bit more. So I tried playing with the structural pylon thingies, and it turns out you can stick them to asteroids and other objects, but the thing is, with the asteroid, it doesn't actually stick. Like, when you left click and drag it and place it on the object, it just kind of floats right through because it's not actually attached. It can't actually attach to an asteroid. It can be placed on the surface using, like, you know, its positioning, but it's not actually attached. There's nothing to actually be able to be used. Like, if I put one there on the side of the cockpit, I could drag the pylon to the other strut thing. Like, this is good for creating large ships in space with docking ports and such. You can just strut them all up, and it could be good. I was trying to do this with the asteroid, but unfortunately the asteroid apparently does not like to have struts attached to it, and that's okay. So I've decided to name this curious looking asteroid, this large asteroid, Barry, because it's a class B size, and you know, B for Barry. I thought it was a pretty good name. It's a funny name. I like it. So yeah, bury the asteroid. Welcome to the Kerbin system. But not welcome yet, because you're not actually slowed down. At this rate, you're going to be in Sol orbit in a few days. So we got to slow this thing down. That's a major issue. All right, so we get everything aligned for retrograde. We think that, you know, this is going to be the greatest burn ever. And it turns out that I was not properly aligned at all for this asteroid thing. Turns out I had to reposition myself, and this is not the way to be. I should have seen it. I tried to align myself with the target center of mass thing, but it turns out that the pink marker is where you're supposed to aim, not the prograde icon. I kind of missed that. I forgot the target in the center of mass, you want to align yourself with the pink icon, and that makes more sense. I just didn't get that the first time. But after a few minutes of tweaking and twisting, we're able to actually get our center of mass and our velocity vector lined up right about now. Okay, we need to lock it. And lock pivot. You can actually pivot the arms. That's actually a good way to push the asteroid. I was just going to use struts, but apparently the arm itself is strong enough, and there's Kerbin in the background. We are ready for the deceleration burn. And alright, here we go. Burn retrograde! Here we go. We're going back into lower Kerbin orbit. Not the lowest of orbits, but oh, actually, we are slowing down fast. We are in Kerbin orbit. Bury the asteroid is now part of the Kerbin system, but well, we actually need to adjust the inclination here. So I opted to actually do a manual inclination change, just because the maneuver node wasn't working that well. So I'm actually just when you burn against the inclination node actually moves. You have to follow it, and the maneuver node obviously can't move, so it gets more efficient if you try to change your inclination that way than just going up to the node and changing it yourself. So I'm trying to change it as efficiently as possible. It's actually doing well. I'm turning the entire orbit around to align with what I've targeted, which happens to be KSO number 2 or 1 or 3 or whatever, which are out of alignment. I need to fix those. But they are in a 0 inclination, which means that if we're aligned with them, we're aligned with 0 inclination, which makes a lot of sense for an asteroid to be in. It's a good place for that. But all in all, in efforts to actually shorten this video up, I'll just show you a last shot of them. We're actually 0 inclination, and we're getting ready to use the rest of our delta V to slow ourselves down to the lowest orbit possible, which in theory should be circular, but we don't actually have enough delta V to make it circular. It's going to be a little bit elliptical, but that's okay. So here we are, burning, and when we run out, we'll see what kind of orbit we're in. Bury the asteroid. The cute little asteroid is going to have its home in around 250,000 meters, which is a nice spot. I like this spot. As long as it's over 120,000 meters, it's a good place, just because you can warp and there's a lot of sunlight and stuff. So yeah, bury the asteroid should have a good place to stay here. And it turns out, yep, we're out of fuel. So yeah, bury the asteroid, now in orbit. Time to send up the unit that can actually take the science away from it. Introducing the Velum, also known as a freaking space plane strapped on top of a missile. That's basically what it is. It's not really even a space plane, it's more of a glider. And we're about to launch it into space, and it happens to have an arm on the end, and we're gonna dock it with the asteroid Barry. And we are gonna take the science out, and we're gonna hopefully glide it. I call this thing the space plane space bike, just because it doesn't actually have proper landing gear. It only has 2 landing gear, so it has to land like a motorcycle. That's gonna be pretty interesting. So yeah, we have to get it up into Barry's height, which happens to be a lot taller than this. But first we're gonna circularize, just because it's easier to rendezvous from a lower altitude. Just it conserves delta V. You can hear the chatter going crazy because it's sped up. I sped this up 4 times, obviously, because I want to shorten this video up. I don't want it to go over 25 minutes. 25 minutes is going to be my maximum, really, so, you know, hopefully we don't get crazy long videos or crazy short videos. So yeah, here we are. We do have a nice little intercept with, you Well, the bury the asteroid, and we're trying to get ourselves on a nice angle here, and we find one. So our separation on this one isn't that far. The problem is we need to be very, very precise. This thing accelerates very fast. It's just like the other spacecraft. It accelerates pretty... I just gotta say, it's a lot. It's a lot of acceleration for a small spacecraft. I should have probably put a Poodle engine on here instead of a skipper. But, no time to change it now. We have to go up to the asteroid, rescue the science, and it's gonna be it. It's got no parachute on it. It's gonna have to be a full-on glider. So, we'll see how this works. So as we come up on the actual intercept, we're getting ready to slow. We gotta get ourselves on the retrograde, and we gotta really hammer the accelerator, which is actually gonna serve as a decelerator, to actually get ourselves in an orbit that's aligned with our target. Let's see here, there we go. Align. You can see how the orbit's actually matching up the more we align with our target's velocity. And time to actually figure out how we're gonna get to this place. We're trying to just fine-tune our velocity, and it's got so much of a kick, so much of thrust-to-weight ratio, and it accelerates a little bit too fast for me. You have to kind of burst it in order to finish maneuver nodes sometimes. But still, the end thing is that once you reach 0, you can just kind of burn straight towards the asteroid. And we're going to arm the claw just in case you get a straight shot. Because we probably will, honestly. Alright, so when approaching Barry and the asteroid Snake-O-Matic, we realize that the cockpit view looks freaking awesome. So we're gonna attempt to burn towards the asteroid with the little missile thing lined up, the little sight, and we're gonna see if we can actually just kind of burn towards it. And in my perspective here, it looks like we're not going that fast. We're actually going 4 meters per second. If you think about that, that's around like 9 or 12 feet per second. It's a lot. It's a lot. So we're going a little bit fast, and I don't really realize at this point. I'm just kind of cruising through space, and I was just fantasizing about Star Wars and like Star Trek at this point, and I don't realize that this asteroid's coming up pretty fast, and I'm trying to like organize myself so I don't bail, and just look at this. We bounce right off. So that's a problem. You can see we just kind of harmlessly bounce off. We didn't actually hit the solar panels on the Vellum. The Vellum is basically what I'm going to be calling like the little shuttles that send up. Just because, I don't know, it's a nice name. Did not learn it from GTA 5 or anything. But, time to try to do this in first person mode again. And here we are burning. We're just going to line up with the asteroid, and we're just going to kind of burn straight towards it. And the clock's running really fast. I'm getting sidetracked though. Here we go. Time to dock with this asteroid. This is taking longer than I thought. I try to align my claw with prograde on the nav ball because I feel like if I offset my claw a little bit, it might not grab as well. But I realize I might have to offset it a little bit, or else I might totally miss. So I'm offsetting a little bit to the left. Just trying to get a nice grab, and yes, there's a grab. We did it! We docked onto an asteroid that we had previously removed from its orbit. And, well, this is definitely a place where we could have a space station. But for right now, Bob's just going to go out and get the science and be content with that. Goes up, grabs the science, does not want to scrap that part. He wants to... Oh, where's the science? Crew report? What is going on? Do I have to be closer? Everything's revealing when I get closer. Oh, there's the data. Take that, and let's take it back, and we'll deorbit this thing. So yeah, here's a nice shot of us removing our claw. We won't be needing that claw anymore, but we're not going to retract it just yet, because we need to actually deorbit ourselves. Look at this. We're gonna burn retrograde a little bit just so that we can get a nice stop here. And we'll see what the product of this is. Basically, we're just gonna try to glide without burning up and without hitting the ground a little bit too hard. A little bit is okay, just Let's not die, okay? Alright, a little bit of a spoiler alert. Things come in pretty hard. We have a little bit of an overheat in the front end. Things are exploding. Things are going wrong. But the spacecraft is staying intact. This is not okay and okay at the same time. It's not okay because we lost our front wings. But it's also okay because if you remove the lift from the front, you can kind of burn a little bit more fuel and it should be fine. Actually, yeah, it does make sense, because if we lose the lift in the front and we lose the fuel in the back, it counteracts each other. So that means we can burn a little bit with our fuel without having to flip over. So this is actually kind of a good thing. And we need to land this thing. So obviously, when we're going to go for a landing, we need to go into first-person view in the cockpit. And we're using a little bit of engine, not much at all. Mostly we're just using the nice gliding capabilities of this thing. I've tested it a few times atop exploding rockets, and it worked well then, and it's working well now. Here it is, basically a space motorcycle, and well, it's not the best at balancing, so that doesn't sound good. Well, we're alive, right? What does it look like? Hold on. Let's get out for a second. Let's see. Oh, a fine Kerbal landing. We're alive. We got the science. Everything's good. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this episode of Kerbal Colonization. I'll see you next time in the next episode. Hopefully you guys subscribe and have enjoyed this episode of this series. Plan to have a lot more episodes coming out. I really want to work on them more, but I have other series that I'm also working on. So show your support by liking if you really want more of these videos per week. I'll definitely allocate more time if you guys really like it. But that's it for today. We accomplished a lot of stuff. Stay tuned for the next episode. This is PVM Vertigo. Peace out.